This is Saturday Morning Mysteries.
And we're your hosts, Alexis and Grace.
Good Saturday morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Saturday Morning Mysteries, where we are your hosts. I'm Grace.
And I'm Alexis.
And today we are continuing our arc of the amazing Chan Clan, a very fascinating 1970 Hanna-Barbera single season show that we've been loving, honestly. Yeah. It's great. I wish there was more than one season. Maybe this will be our petition to get like Cartoon Network, HBO, bring it back.
Yeah.
Someone out there. Yeah. Get it together.
It's really
Let's
good. I promise people will watch.
Yeah. At least two. You're looking at them.
That's what I meant.
And today, Bird will be giving us, or be telling us another story of the Chan Brood's weekends with Dad. So,
yeah,
Alexis?
Weekend with the Brood. These 10 kids, a dog, and their father.
Yes.
Yeah, another weekend with Dad. But before we jump into the weekend shenanigans, I do want to say that it's funny that just a couple of episodes back, or at least a couple of Grace's episodes back, she had to provide a little bit of a disclaimer about like general character depictions in the show, especially after we'd been like hyping this show up so much for being so inclusive and like very appropriately depicting a lot of these people from different cultures. We're back giving that disclaimer one more time because in today's episode, if you go to watch it, if you come about it, go to watch it, you will see there's a few kind of like shaky character depictions based on where some of our supporting cast are coming from. It's like a nondescript nation, but like in your episode. So since it's nondescript, I'm not exactly sure which kind of like turban some of these characters are wearing, but I'm just going to go with pagri as well throughout the episode. And, you know, you see like armed guards wearing the super cliche, like open vests with the long sleeve tops that have like these poofy sleeves and like very thick, long beards and the pagris. And it's a thing. But aside from that, it's not too bad. It's really just the outfits that some of these folks are wearing. So sorry if you come about it and watch it and you're offended, but it's 1972 in America. I guess just be glad that there were brown and not only white people on screen.
That's a good twist to it. Yeah. And
sure.
A good heads up, because we do in the videos like clip in images. So that's also why I would give the heads up. Yeah, it is funny. Yeah, being like in this nondescript country, they still manage to be racist.
Slightly offensive.
Yeah. And I guess I don't know, obviously in your episode you're about to do, but I'm thinking back on some of like the incredibly racist shit in Scooby-Doo, where like not only depictions, but like how they acted and what they talked about. So maybe just the animators of the show were racist, but the writers weren't as much because like...
Yeah. I think that's a fair assessment because nothing that these people say in this episode, or I really don't even think in your episode,
definitely not,
was like particularly, stereotyping or like offensive to a certain culture. It's literally just the way that they draw these characters.
There's like one animator who was super racist, but it was the head animator, so he got away with anything.
Exactly. He's like, you can't challenge me on this. He's the only animator, probably. Let's be real. We see some of the continuity errors in this stuff. I think this was a one-man shop and like maybe an intern or something. You think the intern
who was being sent upstairs to get the cell animation from Scooby-Doo? Yeah. It's from one of your last episodes. Yes, for sure.
So good disclaimer. That disclaimer aside, let's talk about the Chan family's weekend with Dad. They are in this episode attending and watching like this Grand Prix style race in which a friend
I'm
of
sorry. Is Grand Prix cars or horses?
Cars.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Dang. I had race in here at first, but I was like, man, what's like the actual? Yeah, exactly. And then, damn, still lost you. No,
so fancy, sorry.
Car races. No, never mind. I'm not going to say that. Like, is it a sport? It is. People would be at my throat if they. True. Anyway, whatever. So they're at this Grand Prix style race. I think they're somewhere in America, but it's people from all over the world who are in this race. And one of the racers is actually a friend of Henry Chan, aka the oldest Chan child. So this friend, you may ask, who is it? Oh, just none other than Prince Harem of some foreign unnamed nation.
Oh.
They never say what country he's from, but he is indeed a prince and is like very, very important in the political and governmental system of whatever country he's from. And yeah, like I said, Toss just so happens to be a good old friend of Henry's.
A good old friend or 18.
18, I know, right? So Harem, he is like 18 or this young man, and he's got this like very thick black flowing hair and nice dark olive toned skin. And Henry claims to have known this prince for years. So like we can really only wildly speculate about how they know each other. Like, did they go to some fancy ass boarding school together?
That's what I was going to assume for sure.
Yeah. Or like, did Charlie solve a mystery or like some crime for his family who would have been like the Sultan or like the king, I guess, years ago, thus leading to a friendship between the two boys? I don't know. But it turns out that the prince is actually also scheduled to return back to his home country that same night so that he can sign some extremely important papers the next day. And these papers, which are described by the prime minister, we'll talk about him more later, but they essentially sound like some sort of treaty, maybe with another nation or some trade deal. I don't know. Okay. But essentially they're saying that the papers and the prince signing them is going to guarantee the safety of his nation. So very important stuff here.
Sir, you should not be racing cars today.
Not be. Go home. And the prime minister is like on edge too, as he's like standing with the Chans surrounded by security guards who literally there's like 6 security guards dressed as I described earlier, but it's all the same person that they use for the 6 of them. So it's very funny. I wasn't going to throw that in there, but it's really funny. I'm sure you'll clip it and put it in there. It's hilarious into our video. So yeah, the PM, he's like super anxious. Like, I can't wait for us to get out of here because the prince has got to be home tomorrow or else our country is essentially going to be in war.
But go race your little car.
Racing is like pretty dangerous. Like he could crash. He could at least like break some bones and be hospitalized or something. I don't know. But anyway,
he's the prince. Does what he wants.
He's a prince. He can do whatever he wants. You can't stop this prince. So one of the other competitors in the race is a man by the name of Count Yagesh. And he happens to be, coincidentally, not only the prince's most bitter rival in sport, but also in politics, whatever that means. I don't know if they're from the same country. They look like they're of different ethnicities, so I don't think so. But nonetheless, that's how the prime minister describes Yagesh.
And Yagesh, he's a driver.
He's also competing in this race. Okay,
this is some Cold War shit. Like, let's fight this war in other subtle
on
ways.
The racetrack. Yeah. Winner gets the nukes.
Otherwise, we have to sign this treaty. Treaty. Wow. So, okay. 1970. That's a dicey time to have a Cold War episode.
That's how they fit. I would rather they do it that way than on a battlefield with unfortunate poor and middle class men being drafted to their untimely death. Anyway, so
get on that race car.
Get on that race car. You just see them all, instead of being drafted into a war, they're like drafted into crew teams and stuff. They're like fixing these race cars for these like princes and counts.
Honestly, I'd love to see that.
That'd be kind of cool. If we rule the world, that's how it would be. So
Get like Kevin McCarthy switching a tire.
he's like covered in like oil and grease on his face. Like, what do I do? He's like Bernie Sanders, like wiping down a car, like windshield or something. Car's like getting ready
Bernie
to
would
drive
be
off.
like, yeah, we all
Bernie
have
would
to
be
do
the
this.
driver.
The collective.
Yeah.
Mitch McConnell would be like, I can't bend down to do it.
Falls over. I can't get up.
My fault. I can't get up. Anyways.
So Yagesh, though, I have to describe him kind of briefly because he looks kind of funny. His nose is always turned up like he just smelled some shit or something terrible. And he honestly, I don't know how much you watched. Oh gosh, actually, I forget the name of it, but it was another Hanna-Barbera show where they did like these crazy racing events and stuff. And it was like Dick Dastardly was the main villain.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, whatever. He kind of looks like him, hilariously again, because it was a Hanna-Barbera show. Yeah, and I'm sure I don't think I don't know if they copied the same cell animation, but they definitely were like looking at it like
cheating.
Yeah, just use that. Yes, exactly. Anyway, so in this race with Harim and Yagesh and a bunch of other people who we don't care about in the story,
great.
Harim ends up winning actually in a photo finish. At one point, he takes a big lead, but somehow Yagesh is able to get back on his tail, and it's like, they're neck and neck, but Harim wins. And so when Henry goes to congratulate Harim after the race, the prince just like walks right by him without even waving, without saying anything, almost as if they've never met a day in their life. And Henry is like, Father, something's wrong. Something's wrong with the prince.
Okay, Henry. That was definitely some boarding school romance that happened there. Mm-hmm. Oh, God. Okay.
That was my other wild speculation. I'll get to that in a second.
Yes. Okay.
He's like so scorned by the fact that he didn't, at all respond to Henry's congratulations. Charlie's like, oh, it's okay, Henry. The prince is probably just tired. Like, it's all right. He just needs some rest. But Henry, he's like, he can't shake it. He's like, no, I think something strange is going on. Something's wrong with him, which, yeah, like, he gets ignored one time and automatically suggests that some sort of mystery must be afoot. But it does show that Henry and the prince are indeed pretty close friends if Henry is so off-put by the prince's actions, or perhaps past lovers who have been scorned. The bromance, at least, that has been ruptured. And so
he told me he loved me before he got in the car, Father.
I swear. And the cool thing, though, is like Charlie Chan would be totally fine with that, too. Like, he loves his kids 100%. No matter what, so he'd be very accepting. But it's so funny that you said that, because when I was watching it, that was my first thought, too. He's like, oh, my gosh, is this like a scorned lover? And the very next scene back at the hotel, I'm guessing it's a hotel. I don't know what country they're in. We just see the Chan clan doing like band rehearsal. But the song that they're singing, which again, super catchy, kind of slaps. It's like the lyrics are like, who done it, who went and stole my heart away.
Those like weren't the original lyrics, but Henry changed them.
Henry's like playing the drums, crying, like, you stole my heart.
Just his tears splashing back up at him.
Like rolling off the cymbals. So it was really funny, like hearing that song right after Henry seemed so heartbroken about something.
Incredible. I mean, not incredible for Henry. It's very sad to see.
Incredible writing, though.
Yes, incredible writing.
But as they're in there practicing this pretty catchy song, the band is interrupted by Haji, the prime minister of Prince Harim's country. He's knocking on the door ferociously, and someone opens it for him. I think maybe Flip or something. And he is like, please, I need to talk to your father immediately. It's an emergency. And Charlie walks up to him and says, well, what is it? Well, what's going on? Everything okay? And he tells Charlie that the prince has gone missing, coincidentally, only hours before he's set to sign his country's vitally important security papers. And the prime minister noted earlier that there are definitely others around, or at least in the world, who do not want the prince to sign these papers. Mm-hmm. So, while the Chans
vindicated right now, like, oh, he wasn't ghosting me. He was kidnapped. Wonderful.
He was kidnapped, exactly. He knew something bad was going to happen. So while the Chans are investigating the supposed crime scene, aka like back on the race course and at the garage where Harim's car is parked, and I guess is being like upgraded, whatever, a race car drives by, like the garage doors open, and they're in there just like talking to the crew team, talking to the prime minister and the security guards, etc. And they see this other race car drive by, and it's driven by what looks like a man in like a black balaclava, like those the masks that fully cover your face and like come down to the neck or whatever. This guy driving this car throws out actually one of Prince Harim's scarves right towards the Chans, and they walk up to it and notice that a note is attached, and the guy in the race car just like speeds away. So very sus. And this note says very clearly, do not attempt to call police. The prince will be released unharmed in 48 hours. So while Charlie is looking closely at this note, Scooter pulls out a magnifying glass and he like leans down and examines the scarf closer, noticing that there's something written on the bottom of it. And so Charlie, he picks it up from Scooter and he's like, ooh, good eye, kid. Like, man, you guys are actually learning a thing or two finally, like halfway through this first season of this show.
And it's the 6-year-old.
Exactly. It's the youngest of all of them. And so Charlie looks at it and he notices that it's the word Osiris that is inscribed or like embossed into this scarf. Okay. And I think it's Susie maybe asks him, like, what's Osiris mean? And I didn't really look this up. I'm sure it's true, but Charlie tells him that it's the name of the mythological god of the underworld. Okay. So the prime minister freaks out at this point. Like, okay, well, we need the prince here now. I don't like the fact that there's some devil essentially name on this scarf. What's happening? He needs to sign these security papers tomorrow. We can't wait 48 hours or else our country is going to be in grave danger. He's kind of freaking out, as he should be.
Yes.
At this point, Count Yagesh then drives by, you know, like out of his race car suit, whatever. He's just looking at them like, hey, is the prince all right? Have you guys found him yet? And the prime minister is like, that's no matter of concern to you, Yagesh. Like, get out of here, kid. We don't need you. Because the PM really does not like Yagesh. But Yagesh is like, dude, I swear, I only want to beat Harim in racing. I really actually do hope that he's okay. Whoa, like this is like an 18-year-old kid and Yagesh looks like a 50-year-old man. So it's like, why would I, like, no, I have nothing to do with this. He tries to assure everyone. But as Yagesh walks or drives away, the prime minister is like talking to the Chans, like, don't trust him. Don't listen to what he's saying. He's not to be trusted at all. He's clearly the prince's biggest enemy. And Charlie's like, well, to be fair, I don't think we can trust anyone in a situation like this. And so this is when our kids all split up into their various groups. We're going to start with group 1, which is Tom, Alan, and Nancy. So they're back at the hotel, and Tom and Alan posit that the prime minister may himself be behind the crime, which, sure, okay. But what sort of
country at risk?
Yeah, like, do they know something? Like, are they geopolitical experts? And like, they know that there's something going on in whatever
Nancy
unnamed
knows.
Country. Nancy pushes back, actually. She's like, there's no evidence suggesting like that the prime minister has anything to do with this. So like, good for you, Nance, because we all know that she is in fact the criminal mastermind behind all of this.
As always,
you can always count on Nance.
That peace treaty signed. Money or war is money. Nancy wants some.
Exactly. Or actually, it's like this country is known for some export of her, like one of her favorite foods or spices or something. Like, no, if they sign that treaty, they'll have too much control over the spice, and I need it.
Oh my God. I was about to just go down a Dune rabbit hole because you said the spice.
The spice.
That's what it's all about. And who has control of the spice?
Yeah.
All right. Anyways, well, we're just going to stop while we're ahead.
Yeah, no, right. Okay. Because I was about to jump in on that too, but off air, we'll nerd out about Dune at least. But anyway, so at this point, Tom then tells her that this is precisely the lack of evidence that Nancy points out is precisely why they're going to borrow, aka steal, the prime minister's briefcase, as evidence of his culpability is sure to be found in there, which means that these kids are quickly crossing the line into international criminal territory. They need to watch quickly. Out. This is quick. So
no hesitation.
None. Like, yeah, we're just going to steal this prime minister's briefcase that clearly has very privy security documents in it. No big deal. Yeah. It's cool. Whatever. So the trio concocts a plan to borrow the briefcase where they essentially like set off a smoke bomb. And while the prime minister's distracted, they like swap out his real briefcase for a fake briefcase that they have. And then they just run away with his actual briefcase. So they start executing the plan. And after running away with a briefcase, they send Nancy in to get the briefcase. That was their first mistake. She runs away. She goes back to Tom and Alan. She shows them the briefcase that she switched out, so she thinks, but they open it up only to realize that somehow Nancy effed up the whole thing and somehow ended up with the same suitcase or like briefcase that they were trying to plant on the prime minister. So I don't know if she like put it down and like tripped or something. It was like, oh no, wait, which one? Classic Nancy.
Classic
That's all we could say. And so they're going through these papers like, oh, this is the wrong one, Nancy. This is our suitcase. And that pretty much ends their investigation.
Well, we'll call it a day.
And at the end of the day, they may have had the intention of committing a very, very dangerous international crime, but they didn't actually carry it out. So
yeah, Nancy
the
was
record
like,
is still clear.
I don't want to get caught for something stupid like this. I'm going to accidentally grab the wrong one to appease my brothers, but I'm not going down for this.
Nancy's in on it with the prime minister. And she was like, oh shit, I'm just going to pretend I got the wrong suitcase. But in reality, I can't give up the prime minister because our whole plan will be foiled.
Exactly. Oh no, I tripped. She's like kicks one over to make it sound like she trips.
Yeah. Never actually let go of the one that she had the whole time. Yeah, here you go. Whatever. I think this is it. They're going to think I fucked up regardless. So I might as well.
Yeah, fuck it. Here you go. Oh, Nance. Mastermind.
So that ends group one. Yeah, criminal mastermind Nance. So group two, hilariously, is Flip, Scooter, Mimi, and a kid, Nancy.
Oh.
Because either she's been so utterly embarrassed and like admonished by Tom and Alan, and she ditched them because she's done with being bullied by them, or because she realizes that she needs to sabotage all of the various investigations.
That one. She's like, this first one got done in 5 minutes. Great, I can move to the next.
I can beat that. New PR. Let's ruin this 1 and 4.
Nancy, the kingpin.
Flip is pretty much in charge of this group, the young kids. And he believes that the prince's crew chief, like the chief engineer in charge of fixing his race car and everything, I think his name is Surat. They believe that he is the one to blame for the crime. Pretty much the only reasons why are because this guy, he's got a scar on his face and he's got shifty eyes, like he's always like looking around from side to side. And because he has constant close proximity to Harim, being the man who's like in charge of fixing his race car. So they decide, this group, that they should go and investigate the garage back where Surat was, last seen fixing the car, and where the car is stored. And they're like tiptoeing around this garage. They're looking for clues. Again, poor Nance. Poor Nance.
I knew it. As soon as you were tiptoeing and sneaking, I was like, no, they're not.
No, they're not. 3 of them are. One of them certainly is not, though. She like immediately just starts tripping over all of these things, causing a ruckus, like making all this noise, forcing Flip to flip out, freak out. He's like, you gotta quiet down. You're gonna get us caught. Why are you making so much noise? And they make their way through the garage a little bit more into the storage room and the back of it. And this room is filled with like wooden crates and large boxes just stacked up on top of each other. But as the kids are asking each other if Prince Harim is in the storage room, like, hey, do you see him over there? Is he in here? They somehow miss a very large, tall man wearing like a full race car suit with a helmet and goggles. So we don't know what he looks like.
Ooh,
but he's like creeping behind one of these stacks of boxes. And of course, when he sees the kids walking through the room and like exit the storage room, he starts like laughing, like very menacingly.
I don't like that.
Neither. It would be very scary. Again, considering the oldest one here is like 9 or 10 years old.
Exactly.
So as the kids keep making their way through the garage, someone kicks over a can or something, making a loud noise. And of course, Flip turns around, accusing Nancy, like, stop it, Nancy, you got to be more careful. But Nance, oh, poor Nance. At this point, she's had enough shit from her siblings, and she stands up for herself like, that wasn't me this time.
Yeah,
and
Nancy.
She turns around and she's like, it was him.
Oh, God.
To this large, shadowy figure in a full race car outfit, covered face with a helmet and goggles, standing right behind her. And very reasonably, the kids all freak the F out, wondering who is this strange, large man. And they just scatter, hiding all throughout the garage as the man is chasing them around like one by one, which 10 out of 10 would be absolutely terrifying.
Yes.
As you noted earlier, being chased by anyone, let alone someone like in a full suit who like you can't ID.
Yeah.
So they finally, after just probably like destroying this garage, knocking a bunch of stuff over and running up into like the rafters and stuff, They finally get away from this extremely terrifying, creepy man. And as they're running out of the garage, they then see Surat, the crew chief, working on one of the cars near the entryway. I guess he didn't hear them legit being threatened and chased around this garage and also breaking
they didn't
everything.
See him when they walked in.
Maybe he came in after them. I don't know, but it's like it's a garage. Like, it's not that big. Like, you would hear him at least opening the door. Whatever. Flip tells Surat, though, that they were just in there looking for Harim, and Surat's like, well, you're not going to find him here, but you're friends of his, so like you guys can always stop by if you want to like learn about cars and stuff. It's like so polite. Yeah, he's being very nice and, friendly to these kids who just literally destroyed everything in this garage.
Because he hasn't seen it inside yet. That's why he's so nice.
2 seconds later, he like walks back into the storage room and is like, okay, fuck those kids, never mind.
I'm gonna kidnap those kids next.
Yep. And that pretty much is the end of Group 2's investigation.
Okay.
So, yeah, hey, Nancy, like I said, she's breaking records here. So
she was like, this one was so easy.
Super easy. So now we've got Group 3, which is Henry and Stanley. And Henry and Stanley, from the jump, they pretty much suspect that Yagesh is behind the prince's disappearance. Because for whatever reason, Henry is like, yeah, Yagesh obviously has the most to gain in the event that the prince has disappeared. So, like, clearly these two are not only racing experts, but they are also geopolitical experts
All
as
the
well.
kids are.
All the kids are. They know. They read. They know.
I will say, again, unclear for the other kids and the geopolitical experts, but most likely some of this geopolitical knowledge was just the pillow talk between Henry and Harim. Just spilling state secrets.
Dreams like, Henry, do you know how hard it is? Yagesh has hated my father for years now. He thinks his son has the rightful claim to the throne after, and it's just so hard. Henry just rubs his hair. It's okay.
Exactly.
Okay,
Henry's like curling his hair, and Yagesh is like, they always ask me how the nukes are, but they never ask me how I am.
Everything is exports this, tariffs that, but it's never just, what movie do you want to see this weekend?
And then Henry says, Harim, what movie do you want to see this weekend?
Heart Eyes.
Yep.
Anyway, clearly knowing all of the political going-ons of whatever this unnamed country is, Henry is positive that Yagesh is the one to blame here. So he and Stanley, they hop into the Chan van. They turn it into like a dune buggy so that they can like easily traverse this race course and go through the fields and the roads near the racetrack. And as they're driving around, they notice that there's this rolled up canvas mat kind of tucked away in some bushes just off of the racetrack. And so they go to investigate the rolled up mat, and they like unroll it, and they realize that it's painted like a roadway. And so they surmise that someone was using the canvas to make it look like the road led somewhere that it actually did not. So like, maybe someone rolled it out and then like someone drove their car down it.
Wile E. Coyote shit.
Straight up. Hey, Hanna-Barbera. Looney Tunes and all the same, pretty much. Yeah. So seeing this as a clue, but uncertain as to what the clue means, they decide that their next best bet is to find Count Yagesh and just tail him, follow him around to wherever he may be holding Prince Harim. So to be safe and to make sure that Yagesh doesn't recognize the boys on his tail, they turn the Chan van into a diaper service truck, which... By the way, wasn't there a diaper truck in one of the episodes of Darkwing Duck that we did?
I think there was, because I got confused by it.
Yeah. Were they like very popular from like the early 70s to 90s? Like, did people just have diapers delivered by trucks to their houses?
I feel like it was never a thing. But who knows?
Who knows? We weren't alive back then, so we don't know. We'll ask our parents sometime, or if you're listening, Mom, Dad, anyone, drop it in the comments. Was that a thing when y'all were growing up / right before we were born?
We're not going to look it up. You tell us.
You tell us. So Yagesh, he takes off, I think probably from the hotel or something, in his race car. And he's like got the helmet and everything on, like speeding out of there. Always got to be ready, I guess. Always. And the boys take off after him in this diaper delivery truck.
Naturally.
But because Yagesh is in a legit race car, he's going way faster than this truck can. And the boys start to lose him. So they turn the van into a race car as well. And
did that from the start.
Exactly. But also, like, imagine if Yagesh saw this from like his rear view mirror.
We're like, not subtle anymore.
Yeah, not at all. They're like, screw it. We're already out here. We got to keep up with him at any cost. Henry's lover is on the line here.
Yeah, Stanley's like, stay under disguise. And Henry's like, there's no time.
No, there's no time. Execute Chan plan, whatever. Turn it into a race car. Yagesh is like, what the fuck was that? That was just a diaper truck. Anyway, so a high-speed chase begins, obvi. And the boys, though, they're just not as good of drivers as Yagesh is. They lose him again at a fork in the road, and it leads them to this old, massive, like wooden house looking kind of building that's on the edge of some cliff. I have no idea where they are, but they assume that this must be the place where Yagesh is hiding Harim. Oh, okay. So of course they waltz right on in and start searching. Good. They don't knock or anything. Very good. And when they walk in, they see what they think is a guard standing off towards the back of the house. So naturally, they like run up and tackle this guy or what they think, like trying to hold it down for questioning. They're like
Good.
super into action here because they don't even like, no questions asked, don't even take a second to think about it. Because once they like tackle this thing, they realize that it's just a coat rack with a coat and a hat on. Henry is blinded by his love and his pain right now. He doesn't have time to stop and ask questions.
Mode.
Exactly. He's like, I'll tackle anyone who's in my way. No questions asked. On site. Instant assault and battery if this were a person, though.
I'll do anything for my love.
Yeah. We also have no clue if this person, if it were one, has anything to do with what's going on right now.
Yeah.
But
it's inanimate objects.
Exactly. So they continue to investigate the building after that little moment of embarrassment. They're like, okay, did anyone see that? No, just us. Oops. And they find themselves hiding in a dumbwaiter. It's a long story, but like
shenanigans.
A cat, shenanigans, exactly. They see a cat, the shadow of a cat. They think it's like a lion or a tiger or something, but it's just a cat.
Get scared by cats.
I don't, yeah. Where is Choo Choo when you need him? Right. Truly. I actually have no clue where Choo Choo is in this episode. Anyway.
Yeah.
So
Choo Choo's a dog who's scared of cars. He's not in this episode. Also,
like
where's Susie?
Hiding in...
Okay, we will get to Susie. Okay. Got it. Go on.
Let me finish. It's literally after this next line that I'll mention it. And it's, yeah. So anyway, the dumbwaiter, it takes, as per usual, we're on the exact same wavelength. The dumbwaiter that they're on, it takes them down a level. And when it opens, they realize that they're actually just inside of like an Indian restaurant in which Count Yagesh is just like sitting, reading a menu to order his meal. Like so they like pop out of the dumbwaiter and Yagesh is like, oh, what are you guys doing here at the whatever Indian restaurant? And they're like, oh, nothing, just like checking out the area. And then they just like book it out of there
through the dumbwaiter.
Yeah, like no questions asked, don't mind us. And this ends their investigation. And yeah, at this point, then we have group 4, actually. I'll say
okay.
Group 4 is all of the Chan clan. Like they all just get back together at the hotel. And this is now the first time that we see Susie and Anne as well, I believe.
I forgot about them. Yeah. Sorry, Jodie Foster.
Sorry, Jodie. My bad. Because at this point, I was asking the same question as you. Like, wait, where's Susie? Where's Anne? Where are they? And this is a callback to, I think, maybe last week's episode. I forget. We joked about this for a minute, but I was like,
on the cruise episode.
It was the cruise one. Yeah, it's like Susie comes and goes as she pleases. She's like probably been chilling at the hotel. She's like, I don't care about racing. She's like, I would be into this if I thought Harim was into me, but he's clearly into Henry. So,
and all the other race car drivers are 50-year-old men. So
yeah,
gross.
Illegal.
Yeah, where are the teens?
Maybe even in the 70s. Yes. So yeah, now we finally see Susie and Anne, the Chan clan. They're all together now. They're like hanging out outside of the hotel, realizing that they are all way in over their heads as we have like an international crisis essentially at our hands here. And so they decide that they need to band together in order to finish the investigation and find Harim. And so they're outside. Look, I don't know where the hell they are, to be honest, but they are with this giant, like, hawk type bird that's perched on this cool little post. And Henry is like, this is Saladin, Harim's hunting bird.
Oh.
And the bird is, I say it's a hawk, well, one, because it looks like a hawk, but also it probably is. You're probably right. Because it's like extremely intelligent, Harim's pet bird. And Henry is like, yeah, the cool thing about Saladin is that it can find Harim anywhere at any time just by following his scent. Falcon, you think?
Well, I'm just picturing Falcon because I'm now just picturing or in this undisclosed location, that they're in like Mongolia or something. And then it makes me think of, all right, this is too in depth. Then it makes me think of definitely in Mulan, the like Attila the Hun, like type guy has a falcon.
Menacing bird. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a falcon.
Always flew back to him. Always came back. So,
yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, so Henry is like, we'll use Saladin to follow the scent of Harem, and we'll follow him, and then we'll know where the prince has been taken.
Y'all should have done that from the jump, but
yeah, what the hell, Henry?
Maybe
if you
they didn't
knew
know
so
where
much
the bird
about
was.
Saladin. True. How they came about it now doesn't matter. Who cares?
Yep.
So Henry's essentially like, go, Saladin, be free. Find Harem. Just like let them free.
Bird never comes back.
The bird like leads them off a cliff. Because the Chans, as once Saladin takes off, the Chans all load up into the Chan van, and they're like booking it, following the bird, like looking out the sunroof to make sure they're still on his tail or on his trail. And no, so the bird does actually lead them to a harbor where a large ship is docked. We're going back to boats again. I think this is like 3 episodes in a row. Yes.
Where is this country?
Where are no clue. Where are they from? So the kids, they search around the ship, creating just utter chaos in the process. Like, you've got the younger kids are like hiding in lifeboats that are hanging along the side of the hull, like pulling them up and down, and they're swinging all over the place. The middle kids are up in the engine room and like the radio control room, like messing with controls.
Pirate style swarmed the ship.
Yes. There are like 10 of them. That's like a whole crew.
It's true.
That's a crew. And of course, somehow, while Henry and Stanley are, searching the deck of this ship, they encounter all of these men wearing like Frankenstein type costumes, who then start chasing them around throughout the boat. I'm just leaving it at that because there's no other explanation as to how or where these men came from, why they're wearing these Frankenstein costumes. Great. Just know that the boys are being chased. It's happening. And so finally, after all of these shenanigans, the kids, they locate Prince Harem. I think it's one of the boys sees him. It's one of the younger boys, like either Tom or Flip, maybe.
Okay, so Falcon did do his job.
Yes, he did. He actually did the job. He led them to the ship, and Harem happens to actually be on the ship. They see him through a cabin window. So they all like call in on their Chancom watches or whatever, and are like, guys, I found the room. And so they all group together and just bust into this cabin. And Harem is like, what is going on? What's happening? And shortly after they run into the cabin, Charlie Chan enters behind them, telling them that indeed they have executed a very fine rescue plan. And Stanley is just like, well, Dad, how did you know to look for Harem on this ship? Because, like, we had Saladin. What other clues could we have missed? And Charlie's like, well, I just followed the word Osiris, which, as I mentioned before, was on the prince's scarf. And he adds that Osiris is the name of the ship they are on. So
some
easy,
reading would have helped.
Exactly. Just read and look up things. I don't know, like Google Osiris. Don't just look at the first search. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So outside of the cabin, as the Chans are talking to Harem, we see another man dressed as Prince Harem, who looks exactly like Prince Harem, tiptoeing away, trying to sneak his way past the Chan family.
He's like,
shit. They're on to me, get out of here. But they turn around and see him just in the nick of time and chase after him. But Henry's like, well, no, better idea. Saladin's going to get him. Because I guess not only is this bird able to find Harem wherever, but he's also like his protector. I don't know.
Pretty badass, actually. That's kind of cool.
It is actually. It's super cool. Birds are awesome. What can I say?
This guy. Toss.
He low-key kind of does, because when the Chans run outside, they just see like the imposter laid out on the ground and Saladin is like resting on his chest. So like in reality, you know that bird's talons are like in the man's skin, like holding him down.
Just puncturing his lungs as they stand there.
You see like blood like dripping out. And bird's like poking at his face. He's not actually, but in real life, like this bird would be like poking at his face. Because he's like, who's this man who looks like my owner, but clearly does not smell like my owner?
Imposter. Wow, what a good boy.
So the Chans, Harim, and the Prime Minister, they all make their way down the boat deck to see who it is impersonating Harim. And Charlie, he pulls off a mask. And Grace, I'm going to ask you now, who do you think is the imposter?
I think it's Yagesh.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's the Count Yagesh. I do think he has the most to gain in this Cold War situation, especially after it's whatever Cold War situation is happening. He wants those nukes. I think also a bit of wild speculation in that moment in which the Prime Minister accused him, and they had a little like, well, don't accuse me, like pointing fingers at each other. I think that was also a scorned lovers moment happening between them.
That's why he's bitter.
Yeah, a Romeo and Juliet style, like their families like would never allow them, their countries would never allow them to be together. So I think it's Yagesh. I think it's the Count.
That's why Prime Minister's like, don't trust that man. He broke my heart once, he'll do it again.
Exactly. That's what I think.
Well, unfortunately, you're not right. I like your wild speculation. And if this episode made sense, that probably would be who it was. But don't feel bad for not getting it right, because the actual culprit is a character that we literally have not seen yet.
God damn it.
A man by the name of Zhang Will? I don't know. But anyway, he is a master of disguises.
Stanley's like...
My next note is Stanley could learn a thing or two. Stanley's like taking notes, like, told you it works.
Nice.
So this guy, though, he looks like your typical villain. He's got this very thin face with like pointy cheeks and a pointed chin and beard, thick, like very dark but narrow eyebrows. He's bald on top and has like some hair on the sides with like very deep bags under his eyes. Like he just like, I'm tired. The spy life, the master of disguise life. It's wearing down.
Ready to pass my baton to another master of disguise. And Henry's like ready to catch Stanley's ready to like catch the bouquet.
Like flies over him. Nancy catches it.
Just smiles.
It's me. So anyway, Charlie looks at the Prime Minister and Prince Harim like, do you know this man?
Oh.
And Harim is like, yes, indeed I am. I'm familiar with him. And the PM chimes in like, yes, he's a spy who was hired by our enemies to keep the prince away long enough to serve their purposes. Clearly, the writers did not want to get into the weeds of the geopolitical matters at hand between these two nations, so they just leave it at that.
They're like, there was a treaty. Enemies. This dude didn't want it.
This country didn't want it. There are enemies, so he's a spy. Boom. Don't sign it. That's all we got.
Wow.
We're here to make cartoons, not to talk shop. So let me explain how all of this happened, because I skipped some things earlier at the beginning of the episode to add more intrigue and mystery, right? So during the race, during like one of the last laps or something, after Harim had taken a pretty wide lead on the rest of the competitors, we see a group of men again in some sort of, like a pogries or something in brown suits. They receive a call via walkie-talkie that orders them to, that the coast is clear. Now is the time. And so at that moment, they pull back one of the walls of the racetrack and roll out that canvas mat that was painted like a road. And so it makes it look like the racetrack takes an extra turn. And the canvas mat actually leads directly into a shed off or like behind the race course. So since Prince Harim was in the lead, he takes the turn, not realizing it to be a trap, which like, bro, in these kind of races, you're doing, yeah, exactly. First of all, and you do like 500, you do hundreds of miles, like you drive around the circle many times. You study the race course. Like, did you not? Whatever.
He was so shattered by seeing Henry beforehand.
Kind of nervous.
Yeah. He wanted to impress Henry.
And so he drives down this fake road into the shed, which also he's like, I don't remember this shed being part of the race course, but I'll drive in anyway. And in the shed, he was kidnapped. Jean Will then put on the mask and Harim's clothing and whatever, hopped in Harim's car, taking his place in the race, went back out onto the race course. And the co-conspirators then rolled up the canvas mat and closed that wall off of the race course that they had opened up. And so it looked like the race course was normal again. And that is also the point where Yagesh was able to close the gap so much in the race. And that explains why Henry was ignored when he congratulated Harim after that epic win.
Spied into his research.
Exactly. Henry was also like, see, I knew it. He would never not hug me after a race like that. So after the rescue and back at the race course, everyone's happy again. Harim can go and sign these papers. But before he goes back home, I guess, I don't know, maybe they faxed him the papers or something at this rate, because they're still just chilling in whatever country they're in.
The prime minister's like, let's go.
We gotta get the fuck out of here. War is breaking out. The nukes are pointing in the air right now. Russia's on the line.
God.
So, no, Harim, though, he's just like letting Alan drive one of his race cars around for a test drive. Yeah. And Anne, though, she's on the side, like, really wants to try it out. And she asks Harim if she can take a go. But Harim is like, I don't know. You'd better ask your dad. And Charlie is 14. Like, yeah,
13.
Or 13, maybe. I don't know how old. Yeah, do you? But Charlie's like, nah, I think you'd better not. And like, sorry. And like, there's a whole B plot to this episode that I didn't get into. But Anne is essentially like, super feminist, like female power in this, like saying, I don't understand why women can't be drivers too. And Alan and Tom are like bullying her, like women can't be race car drivers, whatever. And so Anne is frustrated, like, well, Dad, you let Alan drive because he's a boy.
Yeah.
And Saladin. And right as she says this, because she's like quoting Saladin too, by the way.
Casual.
Yeah, I don't know. He's just like perched on her arm. He just like squawks right when she says this. And she's like, well, he's a bird, or he's a boy bird. He doesn't know anything. And then that's the end of the episode.
Wait, she doesn't get to drive?
No, she doesn't get to drive. She's like 14. She's 12. And she's a girl. She can't drive a race car, Grace.
There'd be some type of like, you're right. No. We were being sexist. Go ahead.
No. Why would they have a happy ending? No, I'm joking.
Everyone's like, Harim's got to catch a flight now. Bye.
Bye. Sorry. Car's off limits now. They like boot Alan out. Like, sorry, kid. Gotta go. Yeah. And that's the end of the episode.
Wow.
Which, also, just as another side note, like, Charlie clearly had the mystery figured out, like, from the first clue. As soon as he saw the scarf, he was like, Osiris. Oh, yeah, that's a ship at the harbor. Well, yeah, I'll go there later. I'm probably just going to, like, go take a nap at the hotel, and we'll figure this out, and we'll get Harim in a moment. And then, like, when he pulls up to the ship, he sees his kids, like, hanging off of the lifeboats on the side, running around the ship deck. And he's probably like, Jesus Christ, what were they doing?
Here's the thing. Being a single parent is hard. And he needed some damn peace and quiet from sharing a hotel room with 10 children. He was like, this will keep him entertained for at least 6 hours. I can go take a nap. Surely
they won't like destroy the ship or anything, or
commit international crimes.
Yeah, they're not gonna like get into too much trouble. Like this is my time to get some rest.
Me time.
Oh, Charlie. Oh no. Should have paid Susie to watch after those kids or something rather than
Susie was also taking time. Yeah. They like both see each other in the hotel room and just like knowingly look at each other of like, and go off to their rooms for a nap.
Yeah, like, okay, see ya.
Yeah, we'll take care of those kids later.
Yep.
I will say with this episode, for even though the fact that like we never saw that character until that moment, that is actually possibly in all of our episodes we've done in this show, the like plot that makes the most sense, in the sense that like, yes, it is an international spy trying to keep a peace treaty from being signed. It's not
and
some
not the
like
prime minister of
the prime
country.
minister, the mechanic, like it's not like some like outrageous plot line. It's just like, oh, we didn't see him before, so it doesn't make like sense in the how these shows are laid out, but in actual like
in real life, yeah,
this is a spy who was trying to, yes, they kidnapped the prime minister to not have this peace treaty get signed so that war can break out between their countries. Like,
exactly,
this actually is the most logical episode. Like with the whodunit. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it would go. And with it being like this massive conspiracy, like I said, there's a large group of people on the racetrack who are like on walkie-talkies, pulling back the curtain, whatever, rolling out that canvas. Like this was like a very
terror group.
Exactly. Like this. I will say too, though, was it my first episode, The Weekend in Hawaii? Like that was also very, like that made sense too. Like, yeah, it would be, I guess, the manager who is stealing from the guests. Like, I guess, whatever. But yeah, the kids, listen, for this episode in particular, the kids don't get geopolitics. They don't know how this stuff works. They're like, yeah, the prime minister of the country that's about to get bombed wants to get bombed. Duh.
Yeah. Harim, while flying back to the country with obviously Henry's bringing him back with him, he's just like, oh, honey, you're you're the trophy wife. You don't get involved in the geopolitics. Remember, we talked about this. Geopolitics, world politics is my thing. He's like stroking his face.
Yeah. You just come and cheer me on at the races.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't ask questions other than that.
I love you so much, honey, and you're smart in your own way, but you're going to start a war, okay?
Okay, and we can't have that.
We can't.
Remember what happened last time?
And he's like, okay, honey, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I just get so excited.
Upset.
Yeah. I was worried about you.
But I used the Falcon. And he's like, you did. That was good, honey.
Good. And it worked. You found me. Yeah. But like your dad had it under control.
Yeah. Next time, call my CIA.
Yeah. Right.
Call my Secret Service first.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll figure it out. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
wow.
Now Henry knows for the future. Yeah, it was great. Yeah. It was good. All the, slightly offensive, low-key racist depictions aside, which again, it was literally just in the way they drew these people, considering again that it's like in the 70s, not like 50 or 40 something, when like maybe that would have been more, or like the 1800s even, like when that was the more traditional garb of the like security guards in particular, as you'll see. The prime minister, though, he's just wearing, like, honestly, he's just wearing like a nice blue suit. Yeah, like a regular suit. He's got this like red waistband on with it too, which is kind of like, but
it could have been
like
wearing
actually,
in the 70s.
But yeah, I think that like it's actually, it's not bad. It's really just the security guards that look
Which again,
because they literally use the same character for all 6 of them, and they have just like the pogrees and like open vests.
That's the thing that like again, like in my episode, like they would be wearing bulletproof everything.
Exactly.
That's what Secret Service wears, is bulletproof things.
Yes, even in the 70s, I don't think they were wearing that. There's no protection whatsoever.
Yeah, they were not
like the flowiest sleeves. Like they would be getting stuff caught in their arms. Like, no. No, exactly. No. So yes.
Wow, great job.
Fun episode.
That was a fun episode. Good job.
Thank you. I think it was called Double Trouble is the name of it. Like episode 9, I think. Yeah. So
cool. Good work.
Yes. So thank you. And of course, as per usual, we will be back with yet another episode of The Amazing Chan and the Chan Clan. And I cannot wait. We are getting close to the end of this. We'll see what happens in the next couple of episodes. And it's been such a fun find. But until next week, Grace, who should they tell about this podcast / vodcast?
You should tell a race car driver. You know, there are some of those races. I mean, especially the ones that like aren't just like on like the circular track, ones that actually are like going long distances. They got to listen to something. Tell a race car driver, binge this podcast, binge this show while they drive.
They're listening to that instead of like their crew telling them like what to do to like get ahead.
Yeah.
The crew is like trying to get in touch with them, like, hey, you need to slow down. You're going to blow this gasket. You're going to blow it. And they're just like, oh, Hareem. Yeah.
God, I would never get fooled by what's this turn? Also gets kidnapped.
Yes.
So yeah, tell a race car driver. And who else?
And then also tell the crew chief, I guess, which I had to read about. Also not listening, which I had to read about them for this episode because I was trying to figure out like what Surratt's role in all of this was. And like, there's like the whole mechanic team that like fixes up the car and like advises the racer on what to do and how to like win the race and stuff. And the crew chief is the head honcho of the mechanic team, whatever. So tell him too. Or her, I suppose I should, be inclusive. The list that I found was only men, though, of crew chiefs, of course, and most NASCAR or whatever racing environments. But tell them, I'm sure they don't have any like thing to fix or anything like
an entire garage to fix after these kids fucked it up. That's why we didn't see Surratt the rest of the episode.
He was busy cleaning up
his fucking garage.
Exactly. And tell them that there's a whole episode of this podcast dedicated for them. We need that for them. We need that new demo. Plug to watch the podcast on YouTube. If you're only listening, we just did a nice little cute nose bop into our camera for our
Chief
crew
mechanic
team demo.
For mechanic
you're
demo
out there. Yes.
Yep. Amazing. Great.
Cool.
Great job. And
thank you.
We'll see y'all
until next week.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Saturday Morning Mysteries.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share, rate, review, leave us a like, and drop a comment. We post episodes every Saturday and bonus tune tangents whenever we feel like it. So please subscribe so you don't miss the shenanigans.
And if you want to follow us on YouTube, click the bell under the YouTube subscribe button to receive notifications when new videos are posted.
And if you want to subscribe to the podcast, we have no idea what you're listening to us on, so just hit the big subscribe button on whatever app you're using. We believe in you.
Give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram at SatmornMist, all the abreves, and let us know if you have any episode or show requests by emailing SaturdayMorningMysteries@gmail.com.
Thanks to Jenna Kendall for the logo design and to Ava Sakiki for the music used during this week's episode.
See y'all groovy kids next week on Saturday Morning Mysteries.